Welcome. Let us continue our deliberations. We have seen that on the first date of hearing, the public prosecutor is to make it clear that what is going to be the charge and what is going to be the evidence on the basis of which he is going to prove the charge. So today our stress is upon to prove, evidence to prove. So there are two words. Number one is evidence and another is prove. Today we are going to have a focus upon the word prove. Now see the Indian Evidence Act in its part second on proof as chapter 3. So chapter 3 of the Indian Evidence Act is in part 2 and it is regarding proof. On proof. Regarding proof, what are the provisions in the Indian Evidence Act? So the public prosecutor, when on the first date of hearing, opens the case before the court and points out that this is going to be the charge and he is going to prove it on the basis of this much evidence. Now, proof as such is going to be the focused aspect today. Now see, the chapter 3, facts which need not be proved. So on the proof as well, chapter 3 is concentrating upon the facts which need not be proved. We have seen the definition of prove, disprove and not prove is regarding the facts. So here, the facts which need not be proved. Therefore, the public prosecutor or the defense court counsel as well as the court at the first date of hearing itself is going to make it clear as to which facts are to be proved. The facts which need not be proved are as such to be earmarked and to be tabulated separately, and the facts which remain to be proved will become a point of attention. Therefore, let us first of all today focus upon facts which need not be proved. There are three sections, section 56, 57 and 58 of the Indian Evidence Act. Indian Evidence Act 1872 in its part second is regarding on proof and its first chapter, but otherwise chapter 3 is regarding facts which need not be proved. And this portion, this part of legislation consists of three sections, 56, 57 and 58. Now section 56 says facts judicially noticeable need not be proved, means the facts of which judicial notice is to be taken. Second, facts of which court must take judicial notice. Now see, initially said judicially noticeable need not be proved. Second is facts of which court must take judicial notice. Means, see the difference. First is in the form of a universal. There is no need to give a command. These need not be proved. And the second shall means putting a stress that these facts the court must take judicial notice. So the facts of the court is to have judicial notice and court which must take judicial notice. And then the third fact is facts admitted need not be proved. Therefore, the facts which will be admitted by the parties, those also are not to be proved. So here we come to first as to what is the definition of a presume and of shall presume and the conclusive proof. The section 4 of the Indian Evidence Act at the outset as such well defines may presume, shall presume and conclusive proof. So first may presume, whenever it is provided by this act that the court may presume a fact, it may either regard such fact as proved unless and until it is disproved or may call for proof of it. You see, presumption is in the form of rebuttable. Presumption is being not attached conclusive proof here, may presume. So where the word will be may presume, then court either regards such fact as proved unless and until it is disproved. So if it is disproved, then court is not to presume it. And the court may call the party to prove it. That means may presume as such is having a degree of attachment to it regarding its truth, regarding its admissibility, regarding its existence in a fluid form. It may presume means court even can ask to prove it. So those facts which may be presumed are to be considered in the four corners of this definition. Then word is shall presume whenever it is directed by this act, that the court shall presume a fact, it shall regard such fact as proved unless and until it is disproved. So here again, it is made it specific as that even if it is said shall prove, even then the same may not be if those stand disproved. So see, may presume and then shall presume. In both cases, some restrictions, some conditions, some confinement are there. Therefore, the word may presume, shall be attached legal sanction within the four corners of these two definitions. And then there is a conclusive proof. When one fact is declared by this text to be conclusive proof of another, the court shall, on proof of one fact, regard either as proved and shall not allow existence to be given, evidence to be given for the purpose of disproving it. Now it is here where some hard corners have been made. In case of conclusive proof, shall presume and may presume. Now, in the light of these, we will come back to the sections 56, 57, and 58. Section 56 reads, facts judicially noticeable need not be proved. No fact of which the court will take judicial notice need be proved. Now, it is not made clear that of which facts court is to take a judicial notice, but declaration is made. The fact of which court will take judicial notice, that need not be proved. Then let us go further and let us visit the different situations of evaluated, tabulated in section 57, facts of which court must take judicial notice. So section 56 is simple, a sanction that the facts of which court will take judicial notice, those are not to be proved. Now, what facts of which judicial notice is to be taken are now being enlisted here in section 57. Therefore, section 57 becomes central focus of this chapter. The court shall take judicial notice of the following facts. Now, the word used is shall. Now, see, what are those situations? There are as many as 13 situations, 13 types of categories, classes of facts of which court shall take judicial notice, and the court, when takes judicial notice, those facts need not be proved. Therefore, here are 13 categories of facts which need not be proved. Number 1, all laws in force in the territory of India. So, one is not to prove the law which is in force. So simple it is to be pointed out that here is the seal of the sanction of the President of India or the governor of the state, then with it, it will become a enforceable law unless and until there is some authority, there is some judicial pronouncement, or there is other evidence that it stands disproved, means its non-existence is proved. A different situation altogether. But however, the general rule is that all laws in force in the territory of India are not to be proved. This is the first clause. Second, all public acts passed are hereafter to be passed by Parliament, and all local and the personal laws directed by Parliament to be judicially noticed. Now, in the bracket of the United Kingdom is also mentioned. Then here we have to see what is its implication after the enforcement of the Constitution of India. So that is why it is put in a bracket. Therefore, first is all laws and second is all public acts. Now see, the laws as such may be the judicial judgments as well. So the definition of laws and the definition of acts deserve to be comprehended distinctively. All laws in force in the territory of India, as it is declared that all judgments of the Supreme Court are binding within the country. All judgments of the high courts are binding upon the judicial courts and all other things within the territory of that high court. Now, word laws and words acts deserve to be distinguished. These should be listed accordingly, and these have been put as second two distinct categories. Then 3, articles of war as well are being taken, that we have to take judicial notice. Now, here the articles of war are also notified, and those notifications are executive notifications. Therefore, the laws where the courts also may come in, the acts where the legislature comes in, and the articles where the executive comes in. To them as well, the sanctity has been given, the status has been attached, as of which the court shall take judicial notice. So these things are not to be proved. Court shall presume. That is why section 56 has the importance. No fact of which court will take judicial notice need be proved. But here now are given the category. The fourth is the course of proceedings of Parliament of United Kingdom, of the Constituent Assembly of India, of Parliament, and of the legislatures established under any laws for the time being in force in a province or in the states. Now see, Indian Evidence Act is of the year 1872, and then the Constitution of India has come in force in 1950. There are provisions in Constitution of India which provide continuity of enforcement of the laws as those were on the date of enforcement of the Constitution of India. We will come to it there. But here it simply says in that continuity, the laws will be framed by the United Kingdom Parliament or as Constitution by the Constituent Assembly of India or by the Parliament or by the legislature of the states. So it is made here clear that course of proceedings are to be taken as a judicially noticeable facts. It is here as well we can see that much of the factual conflicts which may arise, the interpretations which may arise, which will cost, delay, in the proceedings, etc., those also have been made specific as that those as well are to be taken as judicially noticeable facts. The fifth is accession and the sign manual of the sovereign of the time being of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and the Ireland. Now, see, we have a long history of shift in the sovereignty. The sovereignty of India, which is under Constitution of India as defined under the Constitution of India, vests in the institutions as are mentioned in the Constitution of India itself. However, prior to that, the sovereignty vested differently. Now, as the Constitution has given a sanction of continuity, therefore, the accessions territory to be made part of Indian territory or territories which are excluded and made independent, and those have been taken out of the territory of India, as such become the acts. Those become the sign manuals. Those sign manuals as well are given sanctity of the nature of the facts of which the court is to take judicial notice. So court is not to go behind those manuals as well. Then all states of which English courts take judicial notice, see the seal of the courts and of all courts established here under the Central Acts, State Acts. Now see, the courts, the public notices and notifications of the executive, so judicial notifications, pronouncements, legislative notifications, all those things as well have been put in this category 6, and these categories as well are very big categories. However, there is a sanction, legislative sanction, that judicial notice is to be taken of the same by the courts. Now, we may have a pause here and take note that primarily the Indian Evidence Act is regarding civil and criminal litigations. These litigations are primarily between the individual citizens or group of citizens as litigants. So, in such private litigations, in that context, the certain sets of facts need not be proved, need not be disputed. So, this way we have to appreciate the first 6 categories. Now, the 7th, the accession to office names then ensures these all things written in 7 are regarding the appointments to the offices, the official authorities, powers, notifications. Regarding those as well, which are mentioned in the official gazette. So sanctity is given here to the facts becoming part of the official gazettes regarding appointments of the offices, etc. So here the judicial notice is to be taken, but naturally on production of the official gazettes. Now 8th, the first 7 categories may be taken as a one class. So these 13 categories of which judicial notice is to be taken under section 57 of the Indian Evidence Act, we can broadly put them in two parts. First part is regarding the facts of a judicial notice to be taken under class category 1 to category 7. Now the second group is from category 8 to category 13. Now see, the category 8 says the existence, title and national flag of every state are sovereign recognized by the government of India. See now, here flags of different nations, different sovereign nations as such are being taken if as facts of the category of which judicial notice is to be taken. Ninth, the divisions of time, the geographical divisions of the world and public festivals, fasts, holidays notified in the official gazette. It is here where we shall have a pause. These are facts which will commonly come in dispute, or otherwise these are the facts which will be very helpful in many situations for having determination of another series of facts. See, the division of time, date, time, place, sunrise, there, and then the geographical divisions of the world. Then it is the public festivals, fasts and holidays. Now see, the word fasts, now it has great implications because in many situations the factual determination of particular ingredient will depend upon as to whether or not there were particular fasts there or not. Therefore, each of these aspects of which judicial notice is to be taken and which are not to be proved would mean simply that if in respect thereof official gazette is produced, that should be taken sufficient. Therefore, in our libraries, we shall have the such official gazettes, because these facts are not going to be proved otherwise. Simply somebody will say and assert that here is the official gazette with respect to such and such fact and presume it. Now, whether or not that mention is correct or not can be ascertained only if the authentic copy of the official gazette is available. Therefore, in respect of such situations, we have to have production of the official gazettes. So in our libraries, we must have access for such official gazettes. And it is in terms of these official gazettes of which the judicial notice is to be taken of the facts, we have to plan our defense or the prosecution. So the chain of facts of which certain facts are not to be proved, they will become an important determination for the logic which we have to apply to reach at the conclusion whether or not the fact stands proved. Therefore, this set of categories, starting from 9, get their practical importance. The 10th is territories under the dominion of the Government of India. Maybe we have some agreements with some of the different foreign countries with respect to the particular territories. So the territories under the dominion of the Government of India itself is such a fact with respect to which we will have to have the official gazettes or some certain other such type of documents under the seal of the sovereignty of India, and only in terms of it we will be in a position to say, yes, this is also a fact of which judicial notice shall be taken. Then the commencement, continuous and termination of the hostilities between the government of India and any other state or states. So times of wars, the names of the members and other officers of the court and of their deputies and subordinate officers and assistants, and also of all officers acting in execution of the processes, and of all advocates, attorneys, proctors, wakils, pleaders, and other persons authorized by law to appear or act before it. So these facts are also put in a specific category so that these need not be proved. Court shall take judicial notice thereof, and the trial is not unnecessarily diverted only because of such ancillary situations. The 12th is the rule of the road on land or sea. In all these cases, and also one may have a pause here and say why air routes have not been mentioned here. Simply it can be said that the air traffic at the time was of not such specific determinations, etc., etc., etc. Therefore, when we will be going through the legislative history of the Indian Evidence Act, then we will also be face to face with the changing situations, changing experiences of the years 1872 till 2020. That is why these are the legislative enactments which are continuously under the process of amendment. With it, we can see that when we reach at section 58, which says facts admitted need not be proved. No fact need be proved in any proceeding with the parties thereto or their agents agree to admit at the hearing, or which before the hearing under they agree to admit by any writing under their hands, or which by any rule of pleadings in force at the time they are deemed to have admitted by their pleadings, provided that the court may in its discretion require the facts admitted to be proved otherwise than by such admissions. Now see, here the proviso clause is important. Why? The admissions are put in many situations, and these situations are even through agents as well. We may have a pause here, and we can pose to ourselves that the facts which are to be proved, the manner in which are to be proved, are to be made specific at the time of the opening date itself. Therefore, we have to see how, if at that very time, whether an applications can be filed by both sides for the opposite party to admit the same or not. We will continue from this stage regarding the applications for admission of facts at the initial stage of even considering for charge. Thank you very much.
Amit?
Anji sir.
Can you go back to sheet 3?
Yes, sir.
Sir, this is the point number 4, may presume. Where is it mentioned in Indian Evidence Act, sir?
Section 4. Section 4.
Yeah.
It is
One second, sir.
section 4. Reach that?
Got it, sir. Got it. मिल गया, sir.
Yes. We will coming to them thoroughly afterward when we will be reading the act from section 1 to the last section in that sequence. Here what we are trying to point out is how certain clauses are very important, and if we have in our mind the existence of those clauses, only then we will be confident that we are preparing well.
Got it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.